Mail time. As I mentioned, we had 3 questions, one from Twitter, actually 2 from Twitter, and then 1 via email. First up, at Patriots Feeder, don't even know her, is asking, given what Mac's shown with the offense and the clear growth potential of nearly every piece of it this year, assuming that means the offensive line and the weapons, shouldn't the rest of free agency in the draft just be dumped into the defense? I've never seen a Bill Belichick defense get worse as the year went on. It's true. It was horrendous down the stretch. You're looking at the Colts game, the 2 Bills games, and I think the point of this question is spot on, honestly, because when we talk about all offseason, hey, the Patriots need to support Mac Jones. It's year 2. He's a young rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. We're usually talking on offense, right? But I think the Patriots see it differently and a little bit more holistically, where you can support Mac Jones by stopping Jonathan Taylor on an obvious run off left tackle and forcing a punt to get on the ball back in Indianapolis. You can help Mac Jones by forcing a single punt against the Bills in your last 2 meetings. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I think they will be inclined to pour into defense to help Mac. But the draft, because for agency at this point, they've got less than $1 million in space. There are no more big signings coming. The draft, it's important to remember, is not only for addressing roster needs today, but really tomorrow. And you've seen this in past Patriots drafts where they're taking a left tackle, Nate Solder and Isaiah Wynn, even in the first round, a year before they need them, or even go to last year's draft. Mac Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Barmore get all the headlines because they were instant impact guys. But there were also 3 draft picks in that class where they were intentionally redshirted. Ronnie Perkins, 3rd round guy, edge defender out of Oklahoma, doesn't play a single defensive snap as a rookie because they didn't need him. However, when you look at the depth this year, they need someone opposite Matt Judon. And that was kind of a luxury pick where Perkins was the best player on the board. And with the way the contracts are structured, in 2022, we're going to need him. So they took him. Same thing with Cameron McGrone, inside linebacker to Michigan. He falls into the 5th round, a little bit of a lighter guy. He's, among the speedier Patriots linebackers. They didn't need him last year. Dante Hightower was back. Juwan Bentley was here. Kyle Van Noy had re-signed on a 2-year contract. Well, Bentley and Hightower, as we know, were free agents. Hightower still out there. Kyle Van Noy, the second year of that deal, was easy for the Patriots to cut bait, and they did. Now enter McGrone, a guy that you're going to need in 2022. Let him rest up. Same thing with Joshua Bledsoe, 6th round pick at a Missouri safety, nickel kind of guy. You don't need him, but it was the best player available, and it might be a need in the future. So that's where the Patriots are. And I think that's where you're going to see places like receiver, maybe a John Mechie in round 2 or round 3. A receiver you don't need in 2022. They're happy with their top 4, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and Jacoby Myers. Aguilar and Myers are up after this year. Bourne, if things really go south, they can get out of the last year of his deal really easily. So you need a receiver in 2023. The draft is about investing, taking the best player available and investing in the long term. Second question, this was from Rick via email. With all the talk about the Patriots needing linebackers, why are we not hearing anything about Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings, and Ronnie Perkins? Well, scratch off Ronnie Perkins. We just hit on him. As for Uche and Jennings, Jennings also was kind of a redshirt last year, right? He gets injured in training camp. We never see him again. Uche gets hurt a little bit, kind of gets phased out. But he's suffering really from, Chase Winovich-itis here, where you also just can't trust him to set the edge in 1st and 2nd down. And I think that's what's held him back, where even on 3rd down, look, the quick twitch stuff, the get off, the bend around the edge is unparalleled on the roster. But you need to show more than that. You need to show some discipline, not get behind the quarterback where you're useless and then leaving avenues for them to escape and scramble with as many dual threats as there are across the league. So I think you'll see an impact from Uche, who, look, stole my heart in training camp last year when he's getting like 5 sacks against the Giants and doing practices. It was one of the best defenders in the field. But you need more than the sacks and the flash plays. You need some substance. And I think they're counting on more substance from him. But it's been 2 years and you just haven't seen it. And Jennings, same deal. I mean, both of them were put in inside linebacker and outside linebacker during 2020, just simply out of need. I think they understand both these players better, but it's just really, really hard to kind of put these guys' names in Sharpie on the depth chart when there's nothing to date that they've shown to deserve that. But I think what they're saying is out of those 3 names, Uche, Jennings, and Perkins, one should fit. Lastly, a couple questions about Deebo Samuel. I've been open about this. I wrote about this 2 weeks ago before he apparently officially requested a trade. Is there any chance from a couple people on Twitter? Bottom line, no. This would be a lot of fun. I wrote up a trade. Here were the terms that I came up with. And you can kind of, change these a little bit. I think this might have been an over-the-top offer. But, I mean, for all the production Deebo Samuel had and the value he has as a receiver and a running back, this is a fair offer. It was Kyle Duggar. The 49ers need strong safety. Their 1st-round pick, the Patriots this year, number 21. a second-round pick next year, and a fourth next year. So disclaimer, this is the first sentence that's in that article. This trade is not happening. And I think it's largely not just due to the haul the Patriots have to give up. And mind you, Bill Belichick is never giving up that kind of draft capital, particularly future draft capital in trades. But supposedly, Deebo Samuel wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. That's just a non-starter for the Patriots who, look, they've reset the market a couple of times, and that's been overlooked. They're looking at Gronk back in, I think it was 2012. Stephen Gostkowski for kickers, but Tom Brady never reset the market for quarterbacks. If so, it was a long time ago and very briefly, so they're not going to do that for a non-quarterback, and especially at a position like receiver where time and again, they've shown they would rather have two kind of second tier guys, a la Nelson Aguilar, a la Kendrick Bourne a year ago, even when they're spending, versus investing in a number one because of the way they feel they can take him out of the game with a double team, shading a safety over the top. It's just not worth the investment. So from the investment via trade, all those draft picks and Kyle Duggar or someone of that ilk, plus the amount of money, you're talking 20 million or more per year for a guy entering his prime, which is probably his market value. They're just not going to do it. Team I would look, though, to maybe acquire Deebo Samuel, and you're going to hate this, would be the Jets because they have the draft picks. They have the cap room, and they have another rookie quarterback who needs some more help. Is it going to get done? Who knows? I don't think San Francisco should want to trade their second best player in the roster, and best when George Kittle's hurt. So that's where I would start. It's a fun conversation. So I wrote about it a couple weeks ago on fake trades. But all right, this has been Pat's Interference episode 2. Next week, I won't tell you the player, but he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's done some media since. And I think we're going to have a great time in episode 3 as we get closer to the draft. So please subscribe, rate, and review. Every single person in podcast history says this, but if you like what you've heard, you take 2 seconds. It's a huge favor to us, and we really appreciate the time. So have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.